All right, everyone. Good morning. Is it a good morning? I don't know. It depends how you've woken up this morning. It was a pretty heroic effort from Celtic last night. A strong defensive performance, real quality at times going forward. A number of chances created at the Allianz Arena, one of them taken, and then the cruelest of blows with virtually the final kick of the game that saw Bayern Munich progress. The last 16 and Celtic eliminated. Guys, we're chatting about an hour after the game. We've got Paul and Asim on today. Just start with how you're both feeling, Paul.
Yeah, really proud. I think pride is the overwhelming emotion. So we've had an hour to sort of deal with some of
Stare at the walls for a bit and yeah.
yeah, exactly. But I just enormously proud of the way that they played and they can hold their heads high to a man. Yeah.
Asim, I don't think I've ever seen you as deflated as this. Genuinely, you seem gutted
True,
and
true.
I feel similarly.
Yeah, obviously it's just an hour after. Yeah, it's a sore one. I think I seen you message earlier, saying probably as sore as the kind of Jordi Alba goal back in 2012. But yeah, obviously it's a knockout tie, and yeah, you can probably hear from my voice, pretty deflated. Obviously, echo what Paul's saying. Absolute pride in the team and the performance tonight. Obviously, we'll touch on that, but ultimately, at the moment, just kind of deflated and a bit gutted. Just that we couldn't. We deserved that extra 30 minutes tonight. You know, I thought the team really deserved to give it another go and have that second win in extra time. But yeah, pride is probably the number one word tonight. I agree with Paul.
I'm doing all right, lads. I'm getting there. Yeah, I've had a tough hour, but I'm getting there. I'm just oh god. I mean, I've seen it's interesting when you see people's opinions online after the game, and I know I'm assuming it's Tino from the Celtic Exchange. It does their Twitter account, and he
Yeah,
was saying over it already. And like some people will feel like that, and I get that because obviously I think the thing we all feel is real pride in the performance. No Celtic fan is disappointed with the way the players played. But it's interesting how some people can kind of park that and just be really proud generally. And again, there's not a right and a wrong. It's just different ways. But it's going to take me a bit longer than that. I'm just like at full time. I just sat and stared at my laptop screen for a bit.
I think I think the other thing as well is obviously as Celtic fans, you go into every game with a bit of belief and hope. You know, as much as we all knew this was going to be a mammoth challenge, obviously the sooner it got to kick off, we're all dreaming a wee bit. But in our heart of hearts, we probably didn't expect us to get as close as we did tonight. And I think that's where you're watching that game and you're like, we can do this.
I know.
We actually can do this, and I think that's
Uh,
where the deflation comes. But ultimately, it's a sign of maturity and how far we've come that we literally took them to the last kick of the ball.
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I think thinking about that last night. Sorry, Hamish. Before the game, I was thinking about it and just thinking because I had the same as you, Asim. I had that hope, and I was thinking there's absolutely no reason for me to have this hope. So logically thinking about it, we've never won in Germany. Bayern are an excellent team. You know, there's so many reasons why. Yeah, there's just no reason why we should feel this way, and yet you do. You've just got that in your heart, that little bit of hope that yeah, we can do something here, and you go into it feeling a bit gung ho, and to get so close to sort of proving that hope correct was yeah, that was amazing.
I think even just had we held on for another half a minute and won in 90 minutes, at least you could have come away, even if you get drubbed in extra time, you could have come away like knowing you'd won in 90 minutes at the Allianz. And I think there's even stuff like coefficient points and money and stuff. I guess stuff like that's not massively important in a night like tonight, but it would have been Bayern's. I mean, I actually had a stat here that came up on my feed after the game, and this is from before the game, and the stat reads Bayern have not lost any of their last 20 Champions League home games, won 16, drawn 4. That is the longest run of any club competing in the competition this season. And we were 30 seconds away from ending that run and beating them at their own ground. Okay, let's chat about the game. Morning, everyone. Good to have you with us, by the way, whether you're watching us on YouTube, whether you're listening to the podcast. It's really appreciated. It was just a brilliant performance, wasn't it? I mean, right from the start, defensively organised, carrying a threat going forward. I mean, Paul, it's kind of what we all want Celtic to be in Europe and more.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was mature. It was really, really mature performance. I think, like you say, the way that we took care of the ball, if I think back to games in the past where we've been kind of up against it and it's been backs to the wall performances, normally the big issue we've had is our possession of the ball just hasn't been good enough, and we've been really wasteful when we get the ball. But watching us stroke the ball about when we had it, and we didn't have a great deal of possession in that first half, but I noticed a stat partway through the first half we had 88% pass completion, which I think would have been unheard of in those types of games in the past, that we moved the ball really well. We trusted one another. I think the players really trusted one another, played the ball in tight situations and played their way out of those situations. And to create those, I know we'll get onto it, but the chances that we created, the gilt-edged chances that we created in the first half, are the type of chance you dream about in those environments. So to create that and be on the front foot when we could be, it was amazing. It was really, really good.
We don't want to do Celtic down here, Asim, because as Casper Schmeichel said before the game, Bayern are a good team, but we're a good team as well, and we showed that tonight. But you were watching it at times in the first half. Well, I was anyway, kind of pinching myself in that, we could have been 3-0 up. If we go through the chances, McGregor's one I think is a huge one. He's running through and it kind of opens up, and you're thinking, if there's one player you want running through here, it's Callum McGregor, because he really. I know he had that one in Gladbach all those years ago, in Germany, that he dragged wide, but that was disappointing. And then Kuhn has his one. I never felt Kuhn was going to score that. I just didn't feel it. But then the big one for me is the one when Engels has Maida at the back stick, and Maida should get onto it. And then Maida has another one a minute later. It was crazy.
Yeah, all four of them, and I think progressively the chance got better each one. When McGregor's through, I'm like, we're not going to get many more chances like that. So at that point, you're bemoaning the miss, and then comes the Kuhn one, and then quickly after followed by Engels through, and you're just like, you're right. I was pinching myself. I was watching it with my family, cousins, dad, nephew, and we're all just like, wow, we've got 4 good chances here to be ahead in the Allianz. And the way we were playing, just like you say, assured in possession. I think the press was what I noticed straight away in the first couple of minutes, was how high we were pressing, and I was so glad to see that. And it touches on the lineup, which I thought Brendan, he had that choice to make, and it was probably the one that a lot of fans were calling out for, which was the front three of Kuhn, Maida and Jota, and I think it paid dividends because we were causing them all sorts of bother, and I just thought that high press really unsettled them. And at the same time, they were not really causing us a lot of bother. Obviously, they were going to have territory and they're going to have a lot of possession at times, but there was nothing clear cut. And I was just watching the game thinking, we're the better team here in Bayern, in München. And it was, it was a kind of pinch yourself moment. And you were just like, are we going to rue these chances? And that was the kind of niggling feeling at the back of your mind as the first half was going on.
Because he only really had that Kane chance, Paul, right in half time where he hits the bar.
Yeah, which I mean, again, is a great chance, and you expect Kane to bury something like that. But you're right, there was nothing clear cut. And I think for me, talking about the decisions that Brendan Rodgers made, Asim, I think he got every decision right. Going back to Hamish, your predicted lineup from yesterday, having Schlupp at the back, which probably we didn't expect him to do. I thought Schlupp was excellent. I thought he was absolutely excellent.
I thought he was great.
I think as well, the point that you made about him knowing Elise, he gave Elise no option at all to cut in and have a shot. He marshalled him really well. He's quick, and he's really, really quick, and quick in the recovery too. So I thought he was great, and I thought that avenue for them, they kept trying down the right, and there was just no joy for them there at all. I thought we marshalled that really well, and I thought Johnson as well was outstanding. Again, just really composed at the back. Used the ball well too. So yeah, and that's right. They had one real chance in the first half, which you ride your luck, it hits the bar. Probably the luck that we didn't get in the first leg. But we were. Is it easy? Can we say we were comfortable? But we were with that limited amount of possession. Yeah.
I think the last maybe 2 or 3 minutes, or maybe 5 minutes of this first half, Bayern had a bit more, and then the Harry Kane chance. But other than that, you're right. I thought Schlupp, Engels, and Johnston for me were the 3 standouts. I thought Engels was brilliant first half as well.
You
really
can tell he's like an £11 million player, can't you? Like that. When we talk about wanting Celtic to spend that kind of money on kind of proven-ish players, that's what you see tonight, and that's what we've been crying out for as fans. You see that in Engels tonight.
Yeah, I don't think it's a stretch to say he's probably the best player in the park in the first half. Across both teams, he was he was doing a bit of everything. He was providing dig, comfortable in the ball, composed. The clip ball he played through towards Jota that created that chance. There was so many aspects to his game that was really enjoyable to watch, and just in general, the whole Celtic team, I thought to a man, were brilliant in that first half, and you just wanted us to be able to go again. So glad to get in, obviously at 0-0, and you were just hoping we can carry that on.
Just to go back to the point you made about Schlupp, I noticed that really early on, Elise had a chance where he ran at him, and Schlupp was showing him down the line the whole way. And Elise's a brilliant player. I still thought he was Bayern's best threat, but he wasn't as threatening as the first leg at Celtic Park. So I thought Schlupp was brilliant. What are you guys thinking at half time then? Because we've missed all those chances, but there was a feeling maybe that we'd get at least one more.
Yeah, a feeling, a hope. I think having made it to half time, like it's a real kind of watermark, that, isn't it? It's a real milestone. Make it to half time. They're going to be getting a bit nervous. They haven't really created anything. They haven't been that creative, that threatening and dangerous, and Celtic had been great. And so I think the hope was more of the same. And again, I think a lot of the commentary around the game was, again, you said the same yourself, Hamish, yesterday, try and get to that last 10, 15 minutes and see if we can nick something. So the hope at half time was, can we keep it this tight? The expectation for me probably was that Bayern had to be better in the second half, because because of the amount of possession that they'd had, will they start to use that better? But more of the same, I think, was what we were hoping for, yeah.
And probably the one time we were really cut open was right at the start of the second half, when Goretzka runs through, and you're kind of glad it was him, because it's a team effort. The goal, though, I don't know what minute it was, Asim, but it's terrible defending from Bayern. But in terms of Celtic moments, it was just amazing, and Nicholas Kuhn as well.
Yeah, just to kind of touch back, obviously we've all in the build-up and spoke about different ways that we felt Celtic could compete and maybe stay in the game, and a lot of it was centred around staying in the game and keeping it tight, and maybe later on in the game, but it just totally, that first half blew that out of the water, and it was the opposite. We were the ones that had the 4 kind of gilt-edged chances. So it was strange, because you were just like, okay, this is going differently to how we expected. And as Paul said, you envisaged a Bayern kind of onslaught, and they did start the second half on the front foot, and I think it's a bit of like trauma from the past that in your head you're kind of expecting, the usual maybe quick 1-2 goals, and the fact that we rode the storm, and as you say, the goal was just such a moment of jubilation. It was such a typical Celtic goal right now, with Dyson Maeda at the heart of it, winning that ball, the press, and then Kuhn calmly slotting away. It was mad. It was just a crazy moment, and at that point you really started to believe, and you felt, okay, 60 minutes I think it was, Hamish. But yeah, it was ecstasy at that point, and then you were already past that milestone where you knew you were proud of Celtic now, regardless of what happened afterwards. But as the moments are ticking along, you're like, we can do this, and I think it was the 60-minute probably onwards where I thought Bayern did kind of then take control as well, similar to last week when it was the opposite way round. I felt after that we didn't really have many more chances. Naturally, Bayern were going to give it their everything, but again, there was nothing clear-cut in the immediate aftermath.
Is that going to be one of those goals we just look back on and kind of can't bear to watch it, as amazing as it was, because it's a bit like Larson and Seville and that kind of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think up until that point, I always look back in that goal and be really proud, because it typifies a lot of what we do as a team. So Maeda's pressing. Maeda really made that and won it. You can see the Bayern players almost sauntering to that second ball after he's knocked it on, because they just don't expect him to get anywhere near it, and he gets in and he nicks it and then gets it forward. So much about what's been good about Celtic for the last few years was typified in that goal, and then Kuhn's calmness and finish was great. So yeah, you're right. It's always going to be tinged with a bit of sadness when we watch that goal, but to see us make a goal in typical Celtic fashion in the Allianz, I think it's one to be proud of for a long, long time to come.
Yeah, and it was one of those you kind of knew he was going to score, didn't you? It was like it was a sitter, so you had a moment to enjoy it, and then I didn't even see the celebrations because I was away running around my living room, but it was just glorious. Maybe as the game went on, we you spoke about is keeping the ball in the first half, Paul. Maybe we struggled a wee bit more as we went on. I think a big part of it is the subs, and notable, I think Brendan Rodgers only made 2 subs tonight. He brought Adamida on for Jota after an hour, and he brought Hyun-Jin Yang on for Nicholas Kuhn with 20 minutes to go. And I think he had 12 players on the bench tonight, so that's pretty telling for me. And also even bringing Yang on, and I don't want to criticise players on a night when the team have been good, and Yang wasn't terrible, like he still put in a shift, but it's noticeable to me the quality drop off when you go from guys like Kuhn and Jota to someone like Yang, and we all know that. I saw someone saying online that basically Celtic kind of have quite a good core of a team, probably 13, 14, 15 players who can clearly play at this level now. I think beyond that, though, we struggle a bit, and you see that at certain times when we're exposed. So that's clearly, for me, that's the big thing going forward next season when you're looking at continual improvement. And Brendan Rodgers actually mentioned this after the game, which is great. Get better options off the bench, players who can come on into a game like that.
I think obviously tonight's not a night to be overly negative, but that is the glaring kind of negative part of it, which is he only used the 2 subs because he probably knows there's there is a weakness in the bench, and you could see that at the start of the game when you look at the subs bench. You're thinking who can come on and change a game, and I think that was all our worry when the transfer window closed a couple of weeks ago. Was we've got a good kind of starting lineup, you've got a good couple of extra options, but if you really need game changers to come on at 60, 70 minutes, obviously I'm not comparing us to Bayern, right? But they're bringing on Sane and Alphonso Davies, and I thought we were tiring. You could see that, and Rodgers could probably see it, but I just felt he probably doesn't feel he had the options to bring any other guy. Maybe Luke McCowan, there was an argument maybe, but I thought the midfield were all really good. So it was a tough one, and he probably wanted to keep Hatate on for, again, what Hatate can sometimes bring, which is, something out of the nowhere with a through ball, for example. But maybe McCowan's energy could have helped. Scales maybe another option because they were putting a lot of balls into the box, but again, Schlupp was really good, so nothing really obvious he could do. But yeah, bringing on the likes of Yang, you were hoping maybe he could carry on from last week, when he came on, but he just didn't really get a chance to go, and you just felt we were kind of hanging on towards the end. But yeah, the more I think about it, still a gutter, I guess. It's the way it transpired.
Yeah, the way I think the way that last half hour went, particularly the last maybe 15 minutes from Celtic, was kind of hoofing the ball clear. And so, like you say, Asim, I thought Yang was excellent last week. I thought he did really well when he came on, and was hoping, is this some green shoots of the player that he can be? And he just didn't have a chance tonight, did he? He didn't really get much clean possession. I thought, though, the chances got better and better. Again, one of the things that I was reflecting on earlier on, and I think saying to my boys, was in performances in the past. You think back to when we've been away to Barcelona, and David Marshall performances or Fraser Forster performances in Europe. We've always had a goalkeeper that throughout games like that has had made incredible saves and kept us in the game. Up until the last half hour, that wasn't the case with Schmeichel, and he was amazing when he had to be. He made some fantastic saves tonight, including obviously right at the end. But we didn't have to be up until then, because I think the way that we used the ball, the way that we forced them wide and really limited their chances, meant that they didn't get good shots on goal. They didn't get a lot of sort of clean opportunities. But then it starts to get that way at the end, and because we're not able to take care of the ball, whether it's hard to tell when you're watching on TV whether that's a lack of movement up forward or are there less options to show, or can we not play the ball in the channel because Dyson's not through the middle anymore, and we've got Adamida in there who played well too, but he's a different player, isn't he? So yeah, I just think we start to struggle a bit towards the end there, and the more you put yourself under pressure, then the more you start thinking, is it when rather than if.
Yeah, I think it's bringing on quality as well. I mean, you mentioned it, Asim, but Bayern's subs tonight were Coman, Davies, Sane and Muller, which is quite ridiculous. And I think that is very obviously, for me, that's the next step for this team. And we can chat a bit more about that near the end, but this team's going to, I think, take a lot of confidence from tonight. But it's just about helping them out. Do you remember we played Bayer Leverkusen, another game in Germany, a number of years ago, and we were beating them? And I think the subs we brought on that night, Ayeti was one of them, and I can't remember the other ones, but that was a real issue that night under Ange Postecoglou, and fans could clearly see that. I don't think it's quite as obvious tonight, but I think certainly, improving the squad is a big part of what we need to do going forward.
Even Villa Park, we're well in a game at 2 each, and as the game goes on, our options, our subs weaken us. That's the difference. Whereas at this level, Champions League level teams, they've got just as good options to come off, and it just freshens everything up, and that is the difference. But you're right, Rodgers spoke about it after the game, and it's encouraging to hear that, because he knows, and that's what he'll be saying to the board. Look at what we can do. Look at what we can achieve. Look at what we have achieved. Even if you look throughout this campaign, Dortmund, right? the embarrassment that was Dortmund, but then backed that up with the Atalanta game, where we didn't really create much. But then you look at these last 2 away games, Villa Park and tonight, we're a real good threat going forward as well. So we've now really kind of not mastered, but we're getting so much better at being a difficult team to beat. And now we can, add an attacking threat. So it really bodes well going forward. But that obviously it won't take away the kind of deflation that the players will be feeling tonight.
Or you look at since Dortmund, the fair enough, Villa scored 4 against us. So I probably shouldn't overlook that, but I'm going to clean sheet in Bergamo, clean sheet in Zagreb, and you're 30 seconds from a clean sheet away from home to Bayern Munich. The team do seem to have found a kind of recipe to get results away from home in Europe, and if we can just add that bit of quality going forward that we did see tonight, like that was against Bayern Munich. I was watching highlights earlier of Benfica and Monaco, and I'm thinking, God, you'd have fancied one of those teams, a crack at one of those teams with that defensive performance and a bit of quality going forward. We did have one big chance, guys. You might have erased this for your memory, but I need to bring it up. Dyson Maida's header at 1-0 up that he gets onto. I think he should score. I know there's not much pace on the ball, but my God, that could have been the moment.
Paul, you'll remember it at the Olympia Stadion, Bayern 2, Celtic 1 back in Martin O'Neill's day. There was an Alan Thompson header. Very similar to that. I thought it was a pretty half decent chance as well, and it was probably one of our few ones after our goal, but that's what that reminded me of.
Yeah, it was, and you're just. I didn't think it was. I thought the defender had got on the ball and put a really calm header back to the keeper. That was, and it was only the replay that I saw that it was him. And you're right. He gets that into either corner, and we're away there. I think just to pick up on your last point, I think Celtic have been really fortunate with injuries this season. That we've only really had Bernardo's injured just now. Jamesy Forrest has been injured for a good length of time. But other than that, I can't really think of any lengthy injuries to key players that we've had, and I think that almost gives us a false impression of how strong the squad is, because if we were carrying 3 or 4 injuries, that it makes it much more difficult to put together a performance like that, and so hopefully that's taken into account and strengthening the squad, that actually, next season, hopefully not, but we could have more injuries and we could need a bigger squad even to compete to the level we have this year. So Dyson either corner would have been great there, but it's probably not as gilt-edged a chance maybe as the one in the first half, where if he's just a couple inches further forward.
Okay. In terms of the Bayern, I was going to say the winner. I guess it was the drawer, but the winner of the tie. Did either of you want a foul earlier in that on Dyson?
Worst case, okay, I've watched it a couple of clips back. If it's not a foul, it's a stoppage of play at least, though. And I don't know if, and I'd need to kind of see it back properly. I don't know if Maida got up too soon, and that's maybe where you need to be a bit more streetwise, because it looked like the ref was looking over, and had he maybe just held onto his head a wee bit longer, he would have probably stopped it. Because 9 times out of 10, any kind of sign of a head knock. And I don't know if you have seen the clip back, but it looks like Upamecano's caught him with his elbow. Not an intentional one, but it looks like he's clearly caught him. Dyson goes down holding his head. Upamecano's kind of saying sorry almost, because he knows he's caught him accidentally. And then the rest kind of looking over, but I don't know, it's out of clip. You can't see if Dyson's got up too quickly. But you're just normally expecting a wee stoppage. I know it sounds like, clutching at straws, but it's these wee small things. 30 seconds to go, and if that gets stopped, you're pretty much, home and hose for extra time. And as much as Bayern were all over us at that point, and well, I say all over us, but creating better chances, as you said earlier, Paul, you get to extra time and we'll get a second wind. anything can happen at that point, and you've got that historic win in Germany against Bayern Munich, and if buts and maybes, but it's just it almost feels so typically Celtic, doesn't it, in Europe? But it's been a while since we've had a real sore one like that.
Because he stopped the game for something earlier. One of our players, I can't remember, it was on the left hand side. I can't remember. Was that what it was? So it showed that he could do it. Even like, I think it was for the goal, the ball gets played over and Sani looks like he's about to not keep it in, and he manages, and I had a feeling at that stage, I just had a weird feeling. And it is similar to Barcelona 2012 when the left back scores at the back post. It's very similar, but it was a gutter, but we don't need to labour that point. It's over, we're out. But
a great save by Kasper Schmeichel. A really good save. Carter Vickers is caught on his toes.
Play it the other way. If he clears it the other side, easy to save when you're in the moment, but clear it the other side and we're fine.
I think there was no sort of clear defensive error. No, was there? It's not like somebody's made a horrendous mistake and we concede a goal, and it's just Alphonso Davies follows in quicker. You can see he's on his toes as soon as the header comes in. He's moving. Carter Vickers is like a split second behind them, but that's all it takes. But realistically, we've been undone by a good follow up by a top player, as opposed to us doing something wrong or making a mistake. So I think my pride in the team's undaunted after that goal, I would say.
That is the feeling, isn't it? I mean, we're all disappointed that we're out of the Champions League, because as the game's going on, as you say, Asim, you're starting to dream, and I'm already thinking, this is how daft it is, I'm thinking in my mind, Bayer Leverkusen, Atletico, maybe we'd have a chance in that tie. If we're able to put out Bayern, we'd maybe have a better chance against them. And then you're in the quarterfinals and anything can happen. But it's mad how things change. But we do just feel so proud. I mean, that for me is everything I want to see from a Celtic team in Europe. And like, you go back a few years and Real Madrid were thumping us with ease, 5-1 at the Bernabeu, and even earlier on in the campaign, the way Dortmund tore us apart, that is just...
Atletico Madrid last season.
Atletico is such obvious improvement this season that we've seen. And I know we got maybe a favourable draw in the league phase, and it'll probably be a tougher draw next year if we get there. We've got one round of qualifying to come through. But I just think the belief the team will have taken from a match like tonight means that we'll be better. I'm always go back to the comments Ange Postecoglou made when he said about European progress. The key is getting back there every year. This is the third season in a row we've been there. We need to get through qualifying next year. As I say, one round of qualifying, get through that, make the top 24 again. I know it's a lot to ask because the fixtures might be tougher, but they don't get much tougher than Bayern Munich away, and we drew that tonight. So there's so much potential there. Add some quality. Kieran Tierney is going to make a massive difference. Add, I think, a couple of really big signings, real quality. We're probably going to lose a player or two. And I just think there's so much to be hopeful about.
Yeah. I think it's been a really, the Dortmund one, you can almost argue has been a blessing in a sense, because we've been so much more difficult to beat since then, but we've still managed to pose a threat. We've had some great results, and I just you fancy us now. Previously I would go into qualifiers really fearful, but I think that group of players with the experience they've had this season, you obviously it's in summer and it's always difficult because it's the first games of the season, but you just feel that group of players have learnt so much. The manager, if we back him with some more signings, you really do get excited about the prospect of Celtic in Europe again. And that's, Brendan said it in his first press conference when he came back. His main ambition was to make progress in Europe. What did that look like? We all kind of didn't know. Initially it was getting out the group stage. But I think throughout this campaign, we've seen tangible progress. And I think you said it, Hamish, as well, that the true test of that would have been how we play in these two games against Bayern, or even just tonight. Are we going to collapse again? Was it going to be another 5 and 6-0 and it's just huge? But I think we've shown that, like that Bayern side, I know they weren't, we made them look average tonight. They're still
8 points clear, exactly.
8 points clear in the Bundesliga, so they've not lost in 4 years in the Champions League at home. That's no mean feat what we did tonight, and I'm just gutted that we didn't get the actual win, in terms of that. But in the grand scheme of it, doesn't matter. We got knocked out. But boy, can we take confidence from that, and don't let anyone kind of say, "Oh, Bayern are great shakes," because I still think they'll be there or thereabouts.
I think. Sorry, you go, Paul.
No, I was just going to say it bodes really well for the future because the style of football we're playing, we continue to play exciting attacking football. And even tonight's a different type of game. So we watch week out, sorry, in Scotland, that we dominate teams and that we've got a lot of possession, and it's about how do we kind of break low blocks and do that sort of stuff. Tonight's a different type of football. It's football without the ball largely, and how do we play that type of football? And I think the maturity we've seen, like we said earlier on, to use the ball well when we've got it, but to defend really, really solidly. That's something that's been missing, I think, for the last couple of years. But having built us into a team with real backbone, like real defensive backbone, but creativity going forward. That's a blueprint for a team that can do really, really well in Europe as well. It's a style of play that will work there, and if we can bring in, as you say, those one or two additions, I also wonder whether there might have been players that have been looking for a move that might be tempted to stay for another year and have another crack at it. And because
Hatate, for example, because he was crying.
Yeah. Have you seen the clip of him in tears? No. You're right. I don't know what coverage you guys had in Australia, but obviously over here it was Amazon Prime.
Probably shouldn't answer that question from
okay. But I thought the coverage was great, and at the end, Martin O'Neill, Neil Lennon, Clarence Seedorf, obviously fulsome in their praise, and it's not one of those, we don't want to be known for like glorious failures or anything, but I thought they nailed it when they said tactically we were spot on. I thought we were spot on tonight. I thought everything that we needed us to be, which was solid off the ball, defensively sound, but also carrying a threat. And I thought we nailed it. And kudos to Rodgers for that and the players. I thought we got it bang on. And again, I'll reiterate it. This isn't against Bayern in a group stage, where teams can be going through the motions, and it's, they're going to go. This was them on the verge of potentially going out at some point tonight, or looking like they could be in real danger. Massive sense of pride in what we achieved, or not achieved, but what we put in tonight, the efforts.
Yeah, I think on that, you just have to look at the faces of their fans. When it's getting close to the end of the game, we're still 1-0 up. They're not relaxed at all. Like they're concerned that this isn't going their way. So I think, Bayern were in a real fight tonight. I think, again, it's a cliche, I don't think teams are going to want to come up against Celtic, whereas 2-3 years ago we're a bit of an easy mark in Europe, and Celtic Park hasn't been the fortress that it was. But I think now you look at this, we lost to Dortmund, but I've learned from it, so it's a blessing in disguise. We lose what really was a dead rubber to Villa. When as you say, we bring on a couple of youth team players towards the end, but other than that, we haven't lost a game. We've won some games we wouldn't have been expected to. We've got some great creditable draws. I think we've been excellent in Europe this season, absolutely excellent. There's a lot to build on as well.
Yeah, definitely. And now we return to the domestic stuff, guys, where there's still a treble to be won. And the good thing about, we're nearly in March now, not far off March, so we've not get that long. It's not like previous years we've been done in December and had 7-8 months of no European football. We'll be back relatively quickly after the summer, a bit earlier with the qualifier, assuming we can win the league. Just a final thing, and not to bring a certain team into it, but I'm just thinking, after tonight and the disappointment, what do you want to achieve between now and the end of the season? Go and win a treble and go and batter Rangers a couple of times. We're going to play them twice. Go and take a little bit of the anger and the injustice or whatever you're feeling from tonight. You drew with Bayern Munich tonight away from home. This is a top Celtic team. We haven't shown it in the last couple of games against Rangers. Go and batter them at Celtic Park in a couple of weeks, isn't it? A month or something, and go and beat them at Ibrox as well. That's just a wee thing, not to bring them into a Champions League show where they don't belong, but go and batter them and go and win the treble, guys. And this will be an amazing season.
Yeah, you're right. I think normally when you get knocked out of Europe, it can be a bit flat after that for a while. But I think you're right, given the time of year it is now, given how well we've done this season, both domestically and in Europe. And yeah, we've got some records still to break. We've got a treble to go for.
100 points.
100 points. Brendan's going to really want to right that wrong from Ibrox. That fixture, I think, would really have angered him in terms of our performance levels and the result that day. So 100%, we've still got things to achieve, and you just hope, like, obviously we can lift ourselves and go on and just have a great end to the season, because we deserve it. It's been a fantastic season so far.
Final thoughts, Paul?
Yeah, I would echo that. I think there's a lot to do still in the season, but I think the addition of Jota and Jeffrey Sloop, I wasn't sure how Jota was going to be when he came back. He's had a very disappointing 18 months, hasn't he, personally, and things haven't worked out for him. But my son said to me tonight, how is he not playing for a top European club? Because he's such a good player and a bright spark, and he gives so much energy to the team. I think Sloop as well been solid coming in. So albeit we didn't maybe add as much as we wanted in the January window, we've added real quality. And I think for the 12 league games that we've got left in the season, I think that 100 points is going to be a real target for the team. As you say, I think to play Rangers twice and really show this type of quality against them, yeah, that would make it just an enormously successful season, I would say.
Still such an exciting time. We're going to go and try and win the league now, which is always amazing, and a chance to win another treble. So if you think our season ended here, you're very wrong. Our European season is over. Gutted but proud, I think pretty much sums up how we're all feeling. Thank you guys, I really appreciate you coming on. Asim, especially you staying up till nearly midnight. Go and get to sleep, and hopefully you feel a wee bit better. Hopefully you guys feel a bit better for having spoken about it. I certainly do. But appreciate it. Thanks everyone for watching and listening. I'll be back tomorrow. I think Stevie's going to join me for more chat about the game.